to show you a picture, and I want you to think in your brain about what might be happening in this photo. Ready?
It's blue. Look on this tower.
What's happening in this photograph? Maite? Somebody's having a birthday party? Does anyone else have anything that they think might be happening? Jayana? She's blowing out the candles, okay? Jernasia?
They might be having a surprise party for
A
her.
surprise party, okay? Nobody said that they're eating dinner. Are they in this photo? Maite, how did you know that this was a birthday party?
Because there's a cake.
You see a cake? And what else do we see? Isaiah? Candles, yeah. So when you look at this picture, you have the information, you have the information that's right in front of you, right? And then you have your background knowledge. And that's called making an inference. An inference is when you take what you already know, that's called your background knowledge, and you put it together with information that you have. Maybe it's information from the text or information, in this case, in this picture, right? Okay. So we have talked about inferencing before, but we want to review that, okay? So what I want you to know is that when we infer, can you see that? Yeah. When you infer, you're figuring out something that wasn't completely explained in the text. So you're not going to tell me something that the author told us. You're going to tell me something that wasn't completely explained. You use clues from the story, what the text says, that's your text evidence, right? And you use your own experiences or what you already know, your background knowledge. So in this case, Maite knew what a birthday cake looked like. Isaiah and Jasmine and I think Jemiah and Tyree knew about the candles. They used their own background knowledge, what they already knew, and they put it together with that picture, and they made an inference. So you made an inference, or you say, I infer that this family is celebrating a birthday. Okay? Good job. All right. So today, I have this amazing book that I want to share with you, okay? It's called Last Stop on Market Street, and it's a story written by Matt De La Pena, and it's illustrated by Christian Robinson. You may have heard of De La Pena, as he's written some other books that are in our classroom library. The book is about a boy named CJ and his grandma, and their bus ride around a vibrant neighborhood. Does anybody know what vibrant means? Anaya? Colorful, or maybe full of life, right? Awesome. Thank you for raising your hand, Isaiah. All right. So, has anybody in here ever ridden a city bus before? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so if you have that background knowledge. So I want you to think about your ride on a bus as we read about CJ's ride, okay? And if you haven't ridden a bus, it's something that people do to get around, sometimes when they're in a big city. It's transportation. So today, when we're reading Last Stop on Market Street, we're going to use the strategy of inferencing to better understand the characters and the author's language. You ready? All right. Let's focus, please. Last Stop on Market Street. Last Stop on Market Street by Matt De La Pena. So he wrote this for Luna and her two grandmas, Ronnie and Grace. And the illustrator said it's for Nana. CJ pushed through the church doors, skipped down the steps. The outside air smelled like freedom, but it also smelled like rain, which freckled CJ's shirt and dripped down his nose. The outside air smelled like freedom. I'm wondering why the author wrote those words. Well, let's see. let's look at the text evidence, okay? The text is telling us that CJ pushed through those church doors and he skipped down the steps. And I remember when I was little, and I would get to go to church every Sunday with my family. And when I got out of church, I couldn't wait to go home and eat lunch and maybe play with my toys and take a nap, okay? So when I look at the illustration here, I see CJ running ahead of his family. He pushed through the doors and skips down the steps. So I infer that CJ, the author says, the outside air smelled like freedom to help us understand that CJ couldn't wait to get out of church and see what else his day was going to have in store for him.
Oh, do you still have like touching nose
He ducked under his Nana's umbrella saying, "How come we got to wait for the bus in all this wet? Trees get thirsty too," his Nana told him. "Don't you see that big one drinking through a straw?" CJ looked for a long time, but he never saw a straw. Don't you see that big one drinking through a straw? Why would Mom say that? Well, let's think about our background knowledge, right? I've used a straw before. Tap your nose if you've ever used a straw before. Yeah. Okay? I know what it's like to suck water up through my straw as I drink, right? That's our background knowledge. So I think the author is trying to tell us that the tree is sucking up water like we would, right? It's just an expression. It's figurative language. Grandma is using an expression when she's talking to CJ, and I infer that she means the tree is getting water through its roots because it's raining so hard. Ooh, that's an example of personification, right? When you make the tree sound like a person. So that helps us understand what the author's saying. Don't you see that big one drinking through a straw? CJ looked for a long time, but he never saw the straw. From the bus stop, he watched water pool on flower petals. He watched rain patter against the windshield of a nearby car. His friend Colby climbed in, gave CJ a wave, and drove off with his dad. "Nana, how come we don't got a car?" Who is Nana? Who is Nana? Kamani? Yeah, good. You're using the illustration. She's holding the umbrella, but who is Nana to CJ, I wonder? Thank you. Arshavion?
Grandma?
His grandma. How did you know that?
Because when you said when you first read, you said CJ and his grandma.
Yeah. Okay. But how do you all know what a Nana is? How do you know what a Nana is, Tyree? You have one. So you're using your background knowledge and what the text is telling you to make and you're inferring. Okay. I'm wondering, what do you have somebody in your life that's like a Nana? Do you call them something different? Jasmine? What do you call them? Jernasia?
The same thing.
Nana? Grandma? Maite? Think about it. When you have the word, I'll come back to you. Tyree? Grandma? Nana? Nana? Grandma? You might hear a meemaw too sometimes. So now you can kind of understand CJ's relationship with his Nana, because you have one, some of you. All right, what's that I see, Mr. Dennis asked? Oh, sorry. Let's go back. So he said, "Nana, how come we don't got a car?" She said, "Boy, what do we need a car for? We got a bus that breathes fire." And old Mr. Dennis, who always has a trick for you. The bus creaked to a stop in front of them. It sighed and sagged, and the door swung open. "What's that I see?" Mr. Dennis asked. He pulled a coin from behind CJ's ear, placed it in his palm. Nana laughed her deep laugh and pushed CJ along. Now, did he really pull a coin out of CJ's ear? What does that mean? I pulled a coin from behind his ear. What's happening there? What's happening there, Jayana? He's doing a magic trick. Or you can say, I infer that's magic, right? You know, the text doesn't tell us it's magic, but it does tell us he pulled a coin from behind his ear. Pull one out from behind your ear if you think you like magic. Pull one out and show it. They sat right up front. The man across the way was tuning a guitar. An old woman with curlers had butterflies in a jar. Nana gave everyone a great big smile and a good afternoon. She made sure CJ did the same. I'm thinking Nana's making sure CJ uses his manners on that bus. The bus lurched forward and stopped. Lurched forward and stopped. Nana hummed as she knit. How come we always gotta go here after church, CJ said. Miguel and Colby never have to go nowhere. Okay, I wondered how CJ is feeling. I have the information in the text that the character says, how come we always gotta go here after church? Have you ever thought or said that? How come I gotta do this? Have you ever had that feeling? Look at him. Have you ever just stared out the window and thought to yourself, why do I have to do this? I want you to turn and talk with your partner and make an inference. Say, I infer CJ is feeling.
I infer CJ is feeling to my own. This is his my own. He don't want to be there because he said, while we all get out of here at church.
What's he feeling?
Me one time.
Emmanuel, tell him what you think. All right. Come back to me in 5, 4, 3, 2. Did anyone have an inference about how CJ is feeling? Hands down. I'll call on a few people. If I don't get you, I'll get you next time. Jasmine. He's upset. What text evidence lets you know he's upset? So you see him staring out the window. What else? Anyone else want to add to what Jasmine's saying? Thank you, Jasmine. Jemiah? Remember, an inference is something we don't know from the text. So what other evidence do we have that he is upset? Yep. Thank you for sharing, Jemiah. Isaiah? Because he said, wow, we got to go here. And remember, it's Sunday. And remember, in the beginning, he's busted out of church. He's excited to get out. Now he's on the bus. We don't know where they're going, do we? But he's saying, why we always got to do this? Tyree? Okay. So remember that he's saying, why we always got to go here? So I infer that they're going somewhere where they've been before, right? Okay. Upset was one word. Anyone have a different word to describe CJ? Emmanuel? Sort of mad? Angry, maybe? Well, disappointed? Oh, is that what you're... Good. Disappointed. Let's keep reading. So he says, how come we always got to go here after church? Miguel and Colby never have to go nowhere. I feel sorry for those boys, she told him. They'll never get a chance to meet Bobo or the sunglass man. And I hear Trixie got herself a brand new hat. CJ stared out the window feeling sorry for himself. He watched cars zip by on either side, watched a group of boys hop curbs on bikes.
Bike.
A man climbed aboard with a spotted dog. CJ gave up his seat. How come that man can't see? Boy, what do you know about seeing, Nana told him. Some people watch the world with their ears. interesting expression.
They hear.
They hear what's going on. Good, Archie. That's a fact. Their noses too, the man said, sniffing at the air. That's a mighty fine perfume you're wearing today, ma'am. Nana squeezed the man's hand and laughed her deep laugh. Two older boys got on next. CJ watched as they moved on by and stood back. Sure wish I had one of those, he said. Nana set down her knitting. What for? You got the real live thing sitting across from you. Why don't you ask the man if he'll play us a song? So when the boys get on, CJ says, I sure wish I had one of those. Can you look at the illustration?
Come on, what?
See what they have that he wants? Anaya? A music player. We might call it an MP3 player or an iPad or a phone. Yeah, iPhone, good. So Nana says, why don't you ask the man if he'll play us a song? CJ didn't have to. The guitar player was already plucking strings and beginning to sing. To feel the magic of music, the blind man whispered, I like to close my eyes. Nana closed her eyes too. So did CJ and the spotted dog.
They're not cool,
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. So LJ's using the strategy of thinking about what he reads. And he said, I'm wondering what kind of music these two little boys are listening to. Excellent. Thanks. Me too. And in the darkness, the rhythm lifted CJ up out of the bus, out of the busy city. He saw a sunset, colors swirling over crashing waves. He saw a family of hawks slicing through the sky. He saw the old woman's butterflies dancing free in the light of the moon. CJ's chest grew full and he was lost in the sound, and the sound gave him the feeling of magic. Now remember, CJ's still on the bus with his eyes closed, right? But the music's taking him away. He's imagining. Just like when you read and you close your eyes and you get an image. The song ended and CJ opened his eyes. Everyone on the bus clapped, even the boys in the back. Nana glanced at the coin in CJ's palm. CJ dropped it in the man's hat. Last stop on Market Street, Mr. Dennis called. CJ looked around as he stepped off the bus. Crumbling sidewalks and broken down doors, graffiti-tagged windows and boarded-up stores. He reached for his Nana's hand. How come it's always so dirty over here? She smiled and pointed to the sky. Sometimes, when you're surrounded by dirt, CJ, you're a better witness for what's beautiful. Wow, that's a powerful expression. Let me read that part again. Sometimes when you're surrounded by dirt, CJ, you're a better witness for what's beautiful. Well, I'm thinking about what the author said about this place. Crumbling sidewalks, broken down doors, boarded up stores. And CJ said it's so dirty. And I'm thinking about my own life, which is my background knowledge, what I already knew before we started reading. And I know things don't have to be perfect to be fun. There are things in my house that might need fixing up. My car might be banged up, but it still works. So I'm combining my background knowledge with what the text says, and I infer that the author, Matt De La Pena, he wants us to know that beauty is deeper and it's more meaningful than just how things look on the outside. Beauty is deeper and more meaningful than how things look on the outside. Okay? So I think I infer the author wants us to know not to judge something by the way that it looks. And look inside to find the true meaning of some place or something or someone, right? So Nana said, sometimes when you're surrounded by dirt, you're a better witness for what's beautiful. CJ saw the perfect rainbow arching over their soup kitchen. Soup kitchen. He wondered how his Nana always found beautiful where he never even thought to look. He looked up here, please. He looked all around and again at the bus, rounding the corner out of sight, and the broken street lamps lit up bright, and the stray cat shadows moving across the wall. And when he spotted their familiar faces in the window, he said, "I'm glad we came." So we're at the soup kitchen. He said, "I'm glad we came." He thought his Nana might laugh, her deep laugh, but she didn't. She patted him on the head and told him, "Me too. Now come on."
Oh,
You like that one?
yeah.
All right. Last stop on Market Street. So let's look back at that illustration. Do we see CJ and Grandma in this picture?
Yes.
Where are they? So what are they doing? They look. She has the pot, and she's stirring, and he has a bowl. So can we make an inference about why they go to the soup kitchen? Jordasia?
They're probably helping the homeless people.
They're probably helping volunteer. And you know that from what you know in your background knowledge and then the author showing us or the illustrator showing us here. Now, we could have thought, if we didn't have this illustration, we could have thought maybe they were eating there, right? Or maybe they were cleaning, but we can see that in the illustration. All right. So one big idea I want to talk about. This is an awesome story. It has a lot of figurative language. We might read it again when we talk some more about figurative language, okay? But reading this helps me better understand inferencing and how I take what I have in the text evidence, and my background knowledge to better understand CJ and Nana and how they're feeling, and to better understand the author's words or the author's language, okay? So today and every day, we can use inferencing to understand what's not being said in the story, but to come to our own conclusions in our minds. All right, so now I want to leave you with this. I want you to turn and talk with someone about how CJ changed from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. Go ahead, turn and talk.
CJ began.
How did he change from the beginning of the story to the end? It's on your bottom, dearie. Go back to your seat. Come this way. Yes. All right. Class?
Yes.
Class?
Yes.
All right, let's turn it back. I want to hear, I think I heard some good things being said there. How would anyone share with me what you heard your partner saying? How did CJ change from the beginning of the story to the end? Listen to what she's saying and see if you'll add on to it. Okay, that's his language. He first said, "Why do we have to come?" And then at the end he said, "I'm glad we came." So how did he change? Thank you. Build on what Jayon is saying. How did he change, Emmanuel? He enjoyed it at the end. How is that different than the beginning of the story? He didn't want to go. But what evidence did we have? Great work. Anyone know what evidence did we have that he did not want to go on that bus ride? Maite?
He said, why do I have to go every day after church?
Yeah, why do we have to go? My friends Colby, they don't ever have to do stuff like this. And how do we know he enjoyed it at the end? How do we know he enjoyed it at the end? Kimani? Yeah, and we have that illustration. Close your eyes. We have that picture in our minds of he and Nana serving soup at the soup kitchen. And remember, he said every Sunday, so CJ is doing that every Sunday with Nana. Okay? All right. Good job, guys. Give yourself a pat on the back and tap someone next to you and say, good work today.